The 1960s didn't just change music, they shattered traditions and set the world on fire. Rock, soul, and psychedelia collided in an era where boundaries disappeared and creativity ruled. But not every track that shaped a generation made it to the spotlight. Some songs faded into the shadows, forgotten by time, yet still pulsing with the power that defined an age. Today, we bring them back. These are 10 underrated 1960s songs you forgot were awesome. Turn it up, because history is about to play loud. In the early days of the British invasion, American bands were under pressure to keep up. The Beau Brummels, despite their name, weren't from London. They were pure San Francisco. Laugh came out in 1965, just when the Beatles were dominating the airwaves, and it gave the US a homegrown response that sounded just as sharp and stylish. With Sal Valentino's warm baritone and Ron Elliott's chiming guitar, the song blended folk sensibility with British-inspired cool.
I can't help feeling you found out today.
What made it special was its tone. While most hits of the time were bright love anthems, Laugh, Laugh carried a bittersweet twist. Its lyrics told the story of heartbreak, masked by an almost cheerful melody. This contradiction gave it depth, a song you could dance to and still feel a sting in the lyrics. It wasn't rebellion. It was quiet realism wrapped in pop perfection. The song climbed the charts, reaching the top 15, but label issues and legal battles kept the Beau Brummels from maintaining their momentum. Warner Brothers marketed them as America's answer to the Beatles, which sounded good on paper, but boxed them into expectations they never wanted. Behind the catchy tune was a band struggling for identity in a system that wanted clones, not originals. Today, Laugh Laugh stands as a time capsule of an era when West Coast creativity began challenging British dominance. It proved American bands could write jangly pop just as clever, just as addictive, and with its own twist of melancholy. For fans of folk rock and early psychedelic roots, this track deserves a spot on any 60s revival playlist.
Love is kinda crazy.
By 1967, the charts were drenched in flower power and Technicolor daydreams. But out of Atlanta came something darker, smoother, spooky. Originally an instrumental by jazz musician Mike Sharp, the song was reborn when Classics 4 added lyrics and a voice dripping with velvet tension. Dennis Yost's breathy delivery turned it into a sultry confession, a love song shaded in noir. What sets Spooky apart is its atmosphere. Instead of swirling sitars or explosive guitars, it leans into subtlety, minor key seduction that feels closer to a late-night bar than a sunny festival. Its whispered verses and smoky instrumental breaks evoke scenes of mystery and danger, a rare mood for a decade obsessed with bright colors and psychedelic optimism. The track climbed into the US top 5, yet its story faded behind louder, flashier hits of the time. It lacked the cultural fireworks of a Beatles anthem or a Hendrix solo, but that's exactly why it's unforgettable today. It dared to sound intimate in an era of excess, a soft voice in a room full of shouts. Cover versions by Atlanta Rhythm Section and Dusty Springfield kept Spooky alive for decades, but the original remains unmatched. Listening now, you can feel the tension between innocence and temptation, a reminder that the 60s weren't all peace signs and rainbows. Some nights they were just spooky. Psychedelia often walks a fine line between art and novelty, and Green Tambourine sits right on that edge. Released in late 1967 by the Lemon Pipers, it became the group's only major hit, climbing to #1 in early 1968. But behind its bubblegum pop surface beats the heart of a band longing for authenticity. The song was crafted by professional songwriters Paul Lika and Shelley Pins, and its lush orchestration, chiming sitar, and hypnotic groove scream "Summer of Love." Yet the band, rooted in blues and rock, never felt connected to its candy-coated image. They wanted grit, not glitter, but the record label demanded something that could ride the psychedelic wave. Green Tambourine was their compromise, a hit they hated, a track fans adored. Lyrically, the song feels like a quiet protest against commercialism, a musician playing for coins, begging for recognition. It's meta before meta was cool. While teenagers sang along, the subtext hinted at the industry's control over its artists, a struggle that defined the late 60s music scene. Today, Green Tambourine sounds both dated and timeless, a kaleidoscopic anthem of a generation obsessed with color and sound. It may have been born as a product, but its strange beauty and shimmering production made it unforgettable, cementing its place in psychedelic folklore. Few titles scream 60s louder than Incense and Peppermints. Released in 1967 by Strawberry Alarm Clock, the song became an instant symbol of psychedelic excess, a swirl of tambourines, fuzz guitars, and kaleidoscopic lyrics that made little sense but sounded like freedom. Its surreal charm and hypnotic melody rocketed it to #1, making it one of the decade's most unexpected chart toppers. Ironically, the band didn't even plan to record it the way it turned out. Producer insistence led to session singer Greg Munford, who wasn't a band member, providing the vocals that defined the track. The group resented the move, but the gamble worked. Radio embraced the dreamlike anthem, and suddenly, the Los Angeles outfit had a massive hit they barely recognized as theirs. The song's lyrics are often called nonsense, but in the psychedelic era, sense was optional. Incense and Peppermints wasn't about clarity, it was about vibe, about creating a sound that felt like a mind trip. And it succeeded. Listening today, it's easy to imagine incense burning in a room where time has melted into color and music is the only language left. Despite its success, the band struggled to follow up, and the song eventually became a one-hit wonder cliché. Yet its fingerprints are everywhere, from Austin Powers aesthetics to countless psychedelic compilations. It may have been born in chaos, but its legacy is pure Technicolor magic. Before Linda Ronstadt became one of the most powerful voices in American music, she fronted a folk rock trio called the Stone Ponies. Their defining moment came in 1967 with Different Drum, a song written by Mike Nesmith of the Monkees. But Ronstadt didn't sing it like a tender plea, she delivered it as a declaration of independence. The track flipped gender roles and expectations. Instead of a man rejecting a clingy lover, here was a woman saying no to domesticity, no to settling down, no to surrendering her freedom. In the context of the 60s, a decade simmering with feminist awakening, this was quietly revolutionary, and Ronstadt's crystalline voice made it impossible to ignore. Musically, the single was lush, arranged with strings and polished production that leaned more toward Baroque pop than gritty folk. Some purists balked at the orchestral gloss, but that elegance only amplified its strength. This wasn't just a song, it was a manifesto set to melody, a whisper that sounded like a roar. Different Drum didn't top the charts, but it announced Ronstadt as a force of nature and gave folk rock one of its most enduring anthems of autonomy. Today, it feels as relevant as ever, a reminder that love without freedom isn't love at all. Before psychedelic rock became a cultural tidal wave, a small Los Angeles band cracked open the door to its dreamlike chaos. In late 1966, the Electric Prunes released I Had Too Much to Dream, Last Night, a track drenched in fuzz guitar, reverse tape effects, and swirling reverb. Its opening buzz feels like a hallucination creeping in, an auditory warning that reality is about to dissolve. What makes this song unforgettable is its sense of tension. The lyrics suggest a lover haunting the narrator's dreams, but paired with the sonic experimentation, it feels like something more sinister, love twisting into obsession, beauty curdling into paranoia. This wasn't just a breakup lament, it was a soundtrack for a generation flirting with altered states. Though it reached the top 15 on the Billboard charts, the band quickly faded into label disputes and creative restrictions. Ironically, the song's success came from producer Dave Hassinger's heavy-handed control, using session musicians for key parts. The Electric Prunes created a sound that defined garage psych, but never truly got to own their moment. Today, I Had Too Much to Dream is a cult classic, immortalized on the Nuggets compilation that celebrated garage and proto-psychedelia. Its tremolo-soaked riffs still feel edgy, and its title, Half Confession, Half Warning, captures the spirit of a decade teetering between euphoria and breakdown. Few tracks capture the carefree rebellion of British youth quite like Itchy-Coo Park. Released in August 1967, this single by Small Faces shimmered with the era's optimism and its love for sonic tricks. The band pioneered the flanging effect on its chorus, creating a whooshing, dreamlike texture that blew listeners' minds in an age before studio wizardry became standard. Lyrically, the song was simple, a conversation about skipping school, lounging in the grass, and maybe getting high. For the BBC, that last implication was too much, leading to an initial ban that only fueled the track's allure. Fans speculated endlessly about Itchy-Coo Park. Was it real? Was it code for drugs? In truth, it was based on an actual East London park. And while the rumors weren't entirely wrong, the charm of the song lies in its innocent defiance. Steve Marriott's fiery vocals paired with Ronnie Lane's warm bass and Ian McLagan's swirling keyboards gave the track its irresistible groove. Unlike some psychedelic epics, Itchy-Coo Park kept things short and sweet, a daydream wrapped in under 3 minutes. It didn't just sound like summer, it sounded like freedom bottled in melody. More than 50 years later, Itchy-Coo Park remains an anthem of youthful escape, echoing in every track that romanticizes lazy afternoons and harmless rebellion. Sometimes breaking the rules means nothing more than lying in the grass and daring to be happy. By 1968, the Doors were riding high on fame and infamy, carving out a reputation for dark, poetic rock. Then came Hello, I Love You, a sunlit, 3-minute pop song that sounded like the antithesis of their brooding image. Written by Robbie Krieger and sung with Jim Morrison's magnetic baritone, it was simple, direct, and undeniably catchy. The song's origin is pure 60s serendipity. Morrison spotted a woman walking along Venice Beach and turned that fleeting crush into a hit. Its playful chorus and bouncing rhythm made it the Doors' second #1 single, proving they could conquer the mainstream without surrendering their mystique. But critics weren't entirely kind. Whispers spread about its resemblance to the Kinks' All Day and All of the Night, sparking a minor controversy that still lingers in rock lore. Despite the debate, Hello, I Love You showcased the Doors' versatility. They weren't confined to shadowy ballads or extended jams. They could write a pop gem and still sound like themselves. Morrison's swaggering delivery added a layer of sly danger beneath the sunny vibe, reminding listeners that charm can be a weapon. When the Chambers Brothers declared, "Time has come today," they weren't just singing, they were prophesying. Recorded in 1966 and released in its full 11-minute glory the following year, this track fused gospel roots with psychedelic chaos, creating a sonic storm that felt both urgent and infinite. Cowbells clanged like alarm bells, guitars dripped with echo, and the chant-like vocals turned time into an almost physical force. The song was radical not just in sound but in context. It became an anthem at civil rights rallies, blasting through the static of a divided America. Southern stations banned it for being too political, but its message was impossible to contain. Beneath its acid-tinged haze burned a truth. Change wasn't coming, it was already here. Despite its power, the track faced resistance from radio programmers who balked at its length and intensity. A shortened 4-minute edit made the charts in 1968, but the real magic lives in the sprawling original, a piece that refuses to be tamed, stretching out like a protest march that never ends. It was less a single than a movement set to music. Before psychedelic rock reached its kaleidoscopic peak, the Zombies were already crafting artful, moody pop that pushed boundaries. She's Not There, written by Rod Argent and released in late 1964, was their breakout and arguably the most haunting hit of the British invasion. Colin Blunstone's breathy vocals glide over a minor key progression, while Argent's jazz-inflected keyboard lines weave an atmosphere of intrigue. What makes this song timeless is its sophistication. While many 60s hits embraced bright harmonies and simple structures, She's Not There leaned into ambiguity both lyrically and musically. It wasn't about screaming teen romance. It was about absence, about mystery, about what's left unsaid. That subtlety gave it a cinematic quality rare for its time.
Well, no one told me about her.
The track soared to number 2 on the US charts, but received only polite attention in the UK, where it never achieved the Beatles-level acclaim it deserved. Over the years, it slipped from casual playlists, overshadowed by the era's louder, flashier anthems. Yet its influence endured, inspiring covers from Santana to modern indie acts who still marvel at its cool restraint. What do you do when someone disappears without goodbye? The 60s weren't just about the songs that made the headlines, they were about moments that slipped through the cracks, sounds that shaped the future from the shadows. These 10 tracks prove that even in an era of giants, hidden gems burn just as bright. If you loved rediscovering these forgotten anthems, there's so much more waiting to be unearthed. Hit subscribe and join us on this journey through music history where every note has a story and every story deserves to be heard.